Good morning, everybody. Ow, boy, I just bit my tongue. I hope everybody had a great Saturday. It definitely was not an ideal day to be outside as we saw a lot of cloud cover and, of course, only a few showers and storms earlier, unless you're in the mountains and foothills, but then a lot of those heavy pockets of rain closer to the evening. If you're a college football fan, I hope your team won yesterday. I can happily say that mine did, although they were playing McNeese State. Let's just not worry about that. Let's talk forecast really quick so I can get to Hurricane Lee and the really great changes that it's going to bring. We do still have a lot of cloud cover around this morning, but the sunshine is starting to mix in for a few spots. I know Kannapolis literally 30 minutes ago was sunny, so it's going to kind of mix in here and there throughout the day. I just wanted to give a special shout out to some of our folks saying good morning. So good morning, Joy. Good morning, Daniel. Good morning, Justin, Joey, and Brian. Hopefully you guys had a great day yesterday and a great day today. Still tracking a few areas of some light rain, mainly in Union County as well as Lancaster County. We had a few too on the eastern side of Chesterfield earlier. And you can also see some of those showers and storms starting to bubble up there near Wilkes County, just to the north of Alexander County. So it's that little county that's not in our viewing area, but oftentimes we track storms nearby. Now, again, rain chances are going to be pretty low today, especially compared to yesterday, but still a few scattered showers and storms not out of the question, about a 30 to 20% chance at a maximum. And a lot of them are going to be kind of like this one. You can see pretty light there. As we kick off the morning, we did have some pockets of really heavy rain earlier in Monroe. The camera looks mostly dry now, but they were really packing a punch. You could actually see it on our downtown and government center tower cameras. Now, today, again, it's going to be a day where we do see a few showers and storms. We are keeping it a lot of cloud cover too, mixed in with some of that sunshine. Last game series, Durham against our Charlotte Knights, is at 5:05, a first pitch time frame. So if you are going to be out and about, you probably see a few showers and thunderstorms, maybe even in the distance. Maybe one get close to Truist Field, but it's not going to be a significant risk. In fact, really our better chance of showers and storms today is going to be by the evening hours. So just a few kind of earlier in the day, and then by the evening, we will track a line of showers and storms developing first in the mountains and foothills and kind of slowly, gradually driving across our area by the second half of the day. I do think this particular model is a little bit aggressive in terms of how much storm activity we have, but again, there are some pockets of heavy rain expected by this evening, not expecting a lot of severe weather in the forecast. So gusty winds, kind of like what we had yesterday with some of those cells, not really expected. And rain chances really remain low again into Monday and Tuesday. So we're kind of in this pattern where there are those low end rain chances, but I don't anticipate it raining as much as it did Saturday for any day over the next week. And one of those reasons why is because of this baby right here. This is the front that for anybody commenting on social media, emailing us, when's it not going to be hot anymore? This is for you. A strong cold front comes through the area kind of late Tuesday, early Wednesday timeframe. It looks right now. This will bring probably our best chance of rain on Wednesday morning, but then afterward, the air is dry. I cannot promise you that we will not be in the 80s again, if not even close to 90 again. But what I can promise you is it is going to be a first little taste appetizer of fall. We are talking dew points in the low to mid 50s Thursday, even lower, upper 40s, lower 50s Friday, Saturday, and this will even linger into next weekend, which of course is a big weekend here in the Charlotte area. And the driving force behind why we really are expecting Hurricane Lee to stay away from the Carolinas is this cold front and an associated trough of low pressure. So, Lee update for you real quick. The storm consistently is not expected to make landfall in the Carolinas. Today is September 10th, which is the historical climatological peak of hurricane season. That essentially means that it's the date that the most hurricanes and tropical storms, it's not have made landfall, as has been active in the Atlantic basin. August 20th to October 10th, about 2/3 of our activity for the entire year happened within that time frame. So we're kind of smack dab in the middle of the most active time of the year. And so it's no surprise that we have a category 2 hurricane that's Lee, a tropical storm that really hasn't gotten a lot of attention because it's a fish storm, what meteorologists and weather forecasters refer to as a storm when it's not expected to impact land. And then we have two other additional tropical waves. One in the eastern Atlantic, thousands of miles away. The other forecast to move off the African coast really as early as tonight. So nothing is a direct landfall impact to the Carolinas, just things that we're watching. And of course, one of those storms, you guys know, Hurricane Lee. So hurricane hunters have been in and out doing recon, flying this morning into Lee. There have been some changes. What I've noticed is that we're starting to see a little bit of a pressure drop in some of the kind of data feedback that they're getting. And that's because of it looks like Lee's trying to kind of strengthen a little bit. The storm has been really rocked by dry air and wind shear over the past few days, and it looks like that's starting to kind of change. Now, does this really change anything in the near term in terms of our forecast? Absolutely not. But sometimes when a storm starts to re-strengthen, it can actually form a new eye. And so sometimes that can eventually kind of change the trajectory of where the storm will go. So that's something we'll be definitely watching here over the next few days. But as of now, no major changes. Now, I do want to show this. I said this in the newscast, nerd alert. Sorry. Hopefully you guys don't mind. But one of the kind of signs that we see sometimes with intensification, if not rapid intensification, is if you look at the very center of your screen, you see how Lee at the beginning of the street loop, what word am I looking for, about 2 hours ago, you see how it doesn't really have an eye, like a that you can see, and now it kind of does as we get closer to 10 o'clock, which is of course when this loop ended. What happens is these areas of pink, those are cold cloud tops. So essentially that's the updrafts kind of rising throughout the atmosphere. And as they go higher, of course, they reach the colder air up top. And those updrafts are oftentimes indication that there's either a burst of convection at the center, there's strengthening, things like that. And that's because as the updrafts are happening, they're kind of happening in the center of the storm going out like this. But at the same time, there's sinking motion of air that happens in the center of the storm. And that's what forms the eye. That's why the hurricane has an eye in the first place and why it's the calmest part. So you have that burst of energy and convection mixed in with that sinking motion showing the eye. That's kind of how we're getting those telltale signs that it is strengthening. On top of that, Hurricane Hunter data has shown that as well. Haven't seen a lot of really high winds, but we have seen some lowering pressure, which is indicative of low pressure strengthening, of course, because the lower it is, the stronger it is. That's just kind of a little thing that we look for. I have seen some questions actually on social media and things like that as to why hurricane hunters fly. We don't have any satellites out in that area in the Atlantic Basin. So that's one of the reasons why we get data from the hurricane hunters. And it's kind of a mix of NOAA, Air Force Reserve, things like that. Hurricane Lee, of course, with the latest track update this morning, still expected to take that eventual north turn, but it is started to slow down a little bit. And so you will notice probably some minor shifts in the forecast track looking ahead. I mentioned this yesterday, and I do think it's important to kind of remind people, but the storm is still expected to turn to the north, but it's when that northward turn happens that I feel like a lot of meteorologists along the East Coast will probably start to breathe more of a sigh of relief, or maybe be a little bit more concerned, especially if you're up in the Northeast. The sooner the turn happens, the more likely it is to stay well away from the East Coast. The lesser quick it happens, the more likely it is to shift a little bit further west. So we're still anticipating it happening because of that strong high kind of steering it out to sea. It's just how far west can it make it before that turn happens. However, still no model, still no indication. How is it making landfall in the Carolinas? So our impacts still remain the same in terms of beach conditions. So beach erosion, dangerous conditions along the immediate coast, and of course rip currents. Still, just like yesterday, there still have been some models showing it potentially making a landfall near the New England states. But again, that's still something we just have to keep a close eye on. Even if it doesn't make a direct landfall, it still is going to have major implications because of how strong the storm would expect to be and even just how large the storm is. So I'm going to show you the wave heights here as we progress into time. I'm going to pause this here by Thursday morning. So the storm is about 100 miles off the coast at this point. And notice the center has 50 plus feet waves. But notice that little hint of the light green near our coast. Those are 10 feet. I mean, I think that's pretty substantial if you live along the immediate coast. So it is still going to have somewhat of an impact, but it's actually the impacts likely even further up toward New England and even toward coastal Canada that could be even higher. Look at those in the yellow. I mean, that's 25, 30 feet. So if you have friends and family up in New England, up in Canada, Nova Scotia, places like that, make sure that they are not kind of sleeping on the storm. Even as models start to cluster together, we know that even one little shift, one little wobble can mean the difference between, a 25 versus a 20-foot wave. And these changes will still be had as there's still a lot of uncertainty for everybody. One thing I do want to point out is the National Hurricane Center did even note the low confidence, I guess, in the eventual forecast track, especially for the East Coast, and coastal Canada and stuff like that this upcoming week. Even if there are some changes, just like a few miles here and there, still our most likely impact will be rip currents. And even if the storm were to stay further out to sea, we will still see an impact of the rip currents. It's just that a little bit closer, of course, would be higher and a little bit further away would be lower. So today's probably going to be the last day over the next few days that we'll see those low rip current risks. Tomorrow is moderate and we're pretty much high all the way through the work week. It looks like we could turn moderate by Saturday and Sunday. But if the storm's still pulling that way, we'll still see probably some swells from it. So just something to keep in mind here. But of course, I never, ever, ever, regardless of impact, will say that a hurricane is good. But just like Idalia brought us some of that slightly drier air last weekend for Labor Day, so the fact that no one saw rain here in Charlotte, which was amazing, there's also going to be kind of that positive implication with this trough of low pressure and associated cold front for our forecast. So we are talking 30% chance of rain today, 20% Monday, Tuesday, not a lot of rain anticipated. Wednesday morning, probably your best chance to see rain and storms this week. And then look at that forecast. I mean, honestly, I am so excited for next weekend. We are talking lows in the mid to upper 50s. And we know that when we spend an hour or so in the sun, it feels about 10 degrees warmer. So no complaints about it being cold, right? If you're going to be walking the dog early after a certain time, it'll be sweating just like the rest of us. Highs in the upper 70s, lots of sunshine and no rain. It's going to feel comfortable. So Charlotte FC back at Bank of America Stadium next weekend on Saturday. Charlotte 49ers at home for their first home game of the season. Same for App State up in Boone. So I really think the forecast looks so great. I'm so excited. Great time to give you this good news. Of course, is college football. It's just a little, like I said, taste of fall. Little appetizer of fall. College football is back, so it just feels amazing. So if there are any changes, of course, again, you can continue to trust our team to let you know. As of right now, though, still consistent messaging that Lee is not expected to make landfall in the Carolinas. Our biggest impact will be along the immediate coast. Not really expected to bring us any rain. It's really this cold front, this trough that does look to keep it away from a direct landfall here. We'll continue to kind of monitor any changes for further up the East Coast as we progress throughout the week. Again, as that turn starts to happen, we'll have a little bit better idea. And that's actually one of the reasons too why the hurricane hunters fly in and out of these storms is that they collect data themselves. We put that back into models and makes our forecasting even better. I hope everybody has a great rest of your Sunday. I promise the sun will come out at times, but we are still going to expect a lot of cloud cover today. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And I'll actually see you guys this week on Nightside, Wednesday, Thursday, and maybe even a few shows mixed in on Friday. Have a great day.